Yo, what's going on, guys? Hayden here, also known as Zebs, bringing you the second part of the haunted style tutorial. And this week will be the Photoshop part, such as filters, backings, all that such. And there was a bit of delay on this tutorial. Nick and I went on vacation, so that's why we couldn't post. So now that I have the render here in Photoshop, we're gonna just do a couple things to it. Maybe. Well, yeah, we're going to do a couple things to it. So to start off with, you have your render here, blank canvas, just the render here. You're going to create a new layer, so it's above the render. And in this case, I have these red balls, so I'm just going to brighten them up a little bit with a red brush. So we're just going to make it a little bit darker, like so. And I'm just going to kind of just color over them. So it kind of gives it like a glow, kind of. And we're going to do these to all the red parts that are on this render, besides the inner part. Once we've done that, we're just going to do a soft light. Well, no, not a soft light. Let's do a screen, maybe. And then lower the opacity down. And that will create a glow once we add our color correction to it. Because right now, it doesn't look... It kind of looks glowy, but I mean, it's kind of meh. But once we add our color correction to it, which I'll show you how to make, it'll look a lot better. So we're just going to take both of these layers and we're going to bring it into the YouTube template thing, the YouTube banner template or whatever. And once we've done that, we're going to resize it just so it fits it perfectly. Well, not perfectly, but to a decent amount where you see the logo, but it's not too small or too big. So this is perfect size for it. And once we've done that, the second part I always do once I have my render set up is start the color correction. So create a new folder, and we're going to name it just color correction. And once we've done that, I'm just going to show you some cool little things you can do to create a nice solid color correction. So to start off with, we're going to use a gradient map, and we're going to turn this red into a black, and then we're going to make the other side a white. And what this will do is once we set it to overlay, it'll make everything much darker and it'll have a nice darkness. But it's obviously too dark right now, so we're going to lower the opacity down to maybe 70%. And once we've done that, we're going to go into our settings here again, and we're going to get a gradient. This is different gradient than the gradient map. A gradient fill actually is a gradient. So yeah, so we're going to have a red here. Let's actually change the red. I want a darker red. We'll do a red like this, and then set the other side to a black, and then we're going to lower the opacity down so it gives it like a good glow when you're making it. Once we've done that, we're going to go into curves, and we're going to kind of make a S, kind of. Just I wouldn't really call this an S, just kind of make it very subtle. So, very small difference there. So once we've done that, we're going to use a photo filter, and we're going to set it to a nice, don't want to do a blue in this case. Now let's just do an orange. I guess we're going to go with the warm feel for this. So set the opacity to maybe 50. Let's just do 30. And then once you have that, you can lower the opacity if you want, or you can leave it. It's completely up to you, but I'm going to set it to about 65%, so it's not as strong. And most of the reason I did this was for the render, to give it a little bit of an orange tint. The backing part didn't really need it, so yeah. So once we've done that, we're going to go into our vibrance, and we're going to turn the vibrance up a little bit. So as you can see, having vibrance all the way up, it brings all the reds out and it way too much. And if we bring it all the way to the left, it's obviously too unsaturated and not very vibrant. So we're going to find a good balance between that. So I want to say 35 is a good balance for this case. But if you're doing a different like banner, I guess you would want to mess around with it a little bit because it might be a different thing. So I guess one more thing we would do would be exposure. Just kind of turn down. Oops, just try and find a good balance. Like exposure is very subtle. But yeah, this is your basic color correction. Well, this is my basic color correction setup. Works fine. Color correction's good. Everything's good on it. So yeah. So once we've done that, we're gonna start getting into our backing and things like that. So in this case, for this tutorial, I'm just gonna use the Zebs Everything V5 pack. Most packs have some of the stuff I'm gonna be using, like smoke and particles and things like that. So I mean, if you do have this pack, you're gonna have a little bit of advantage because you're gonna have the same stuff as me. But if you have a different pack, you might have to improvise a little bit on a couple things, but they should be the same results for the most part. So to start off with, I always start off with some smoke just to give the background some texture. And yeah, so I'm gonna use number 4. This is a very subtle smoke. Just give it a little bit of detail, not a whole lot. And I'm just going to keep it like this. Actually, over YouTube, it might be really hard to see. So here, I'll just raise the opacity on them so you guys can see what I'm doing, and then I'll lower the opacity in the end. So kind of just have it like this, so it's just kind of barely there. Well, barely over the whole thing. And then the second one, just duplicate it and just drag it down a little bit so it's kind of brighter, and then it gradually gets darker. And then I'm just going to set these back to 15, and that'll give it some good detail. So once we've done that, we're going to use a number 2 smoke now. This is like a curvy smoke. I use this for my render, kind of just have a little bit of smoke coming out of the render part. And I do it for the top as well. So something along the lines of this. And that'll give it some more detail, obviously. And we're going to lower the opacity on this just so there's just barely enough smoke showing. It might be a little bit hard for you guys to see over YouTube, so sorry about that. So once we've done that, you could add more smoke if you wanted, but in this case, I think that's enough smoke. I don't want to overdo it. So once we've done that, I always do particles next. So I'm going to open up just some basic particles here, I guess number 5 in this case, and I'm just going to put them along the back and duplicate it, put it on this side, and then just lower the opacity on them. That's it. Something along the lines of that. Actually, I'm going to lower this smoke a little bit. Here, let's set it to 10. That's a little bit better. And then particles are good. So once I've done that, I'm just going to add, well, I mean, I guess that could be good for particles. If you wanted, you could add some like smaller particles, just add a little bit more detail. So I'll add a number 2 here. As you can see, guys, you might not even tell a difference, but it's just a small difference in the particles. Looks nice. So I'm just going to lower the opacity on this one. Alright, so that's good. So once we've done that, I'm just going to do a little bit more lighting to it. So create a new layer at the top of everything else but under the color correction. And we're going to make our brush really big. And then we're just going to kind of get a red brush, or red, and we're just going to make our brush really big. We're just going to kind of go over it like so, just to give it some lighting. And we're just going to lower the opacity down a bunch to something along the lines of like 10, so it's very subtle, not too strong. And then we're going to add a red brush over the render just to give that some lighting as well. So I'm just going to do something like this, maybe down here if you wanted. And we're just going to lower the opacity on that, just give it some lighting. And yeah, so once we've done that, what we're going to do next is going to be, I always like to do sparks. I don't always use them, but I guess in this case, since I'm going with a warmer look, it'd be necessary to have sparks and like stuff like that showing up to like indicate that it's hot or something like that. So I'm just gonna duplicate it all around the render, just so it looks like sparks are coming out of things and whatnot. It's a little bit hard to see over YouTube, but if someone like put this banner on their channel, you'd be able to notice the details and things like that. I'd say that's pretty good for the most part. I'm going to merge all these together. Merge, set it to screen, duplicate it, there. And then merge them again, screen, and then I'm just going to lower the opacity on it, something like that. So see, yeah, something very subtle, things like that. And once we've done that, this is kind of like an optional type thing if you wanted. We're going to add a stock, some stocks now. I guess we could add these three, so I'm going to start off with number 4. This is pretty used stock. A lot of people use it. It's good stock, I guess. And we're just going to duplicate it over the render. Here, let me line it up. So once you have this, just boom, have it over the render. Merge them together. Wait, what was the setting set as? Screen. Okay, so merge them together and set it to screen. Just remember, when you do stuff like that, look what the setting is so you have the same thing when you merge them. Because when you merge stuff, it's automatically going to get set to normal. In this case, there's a black background for this. So set it to screen. And we're going to drag, well, we're not going to drag behind the render. I guess we can just start. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Set it to red, I guess. So find the color of the banner that you're trying to do. So I guess in this case, it's a red. So I guess the best we're going to be able to do is maybe an orange. Wait, oh, there it is. So I'd say something like this is a good red. And we're just going to kind of erase parts of this stock, just so it kind of blends in with the render a little bit more. And so it's easier to see some of the things, like the Zebs thing. It's a little bit hard to see, so we're just going to erase that and do something like this. So now add some detail to the render, and it's not so basic or clean or anything like that. So once we've done that, we're going to add I'm going to add a little bit more stocks. Some more stocks. So let's see here. I'll use number 21. And this one I'll just be using towards the bottom. So like, kind of like this. So it kind of gives it like a fire type thing. Like fire coming out of the thing. I don't know. I like this stock. It's a really cool stock. So once we've done that, just duplicate it to the top. And we're going to flip vertical. Boom. Same thing. And we're just going to lower the opacity on all 4 of them. So something like this. Just give us some detail, things like that. And once we've done that, I'm going to add a little bit more lighting. So create a new layer. Create more red all around everything. Just kind of give it some red. Lower the opacity down on it. Something like this. Just make it more red, more detail and whatnot. So that's basically the basic standard banner. Bare minimal, you know. You could add more if you wanted. You could be finished with this case. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to add any more. This will be the final part. So now I'm going to show you guys some filters that I use and things like that to improve your banner just a little bit more. Give it the final touches. So just duplicate everything. Control J once you have everything selected. And then just merge. So now you have one layer of the whole banner. And we're going to duplicate it. And we're going to go filter, other, high pass. What this is it's a sharpen tool. So we're going to set the radius to 10 and set it to overlay. And what that'll do is it will sharpen the banner on everything, which looks really cool. Because it's not just a sharpen, it does a little bit more than sharpen. It's kind of hard to explain, but it looks really cool on banners. So once we've done that, we're going to let's add some magic bullet looks. So if you guys don't have magic bullet looks, you guys might have to create another color correction. Just use what I taught you guys, but for this case, I do have a color correction set up for this. So I'm going to use this one here. Color correction I made for banners and whatnot. If you guys want, here are the settings. I'm just going to click on them, and then the settings will be down here. So you guys can pause the video on each one and make it yourself if you guys want. So there's that. Crush. There's that. Diffusion. There's the settings. Color contrast. Curves. There's the curves. And then auto shoulder. And that'll make the this cool color correction. So I'm just going to use this one, guys. This one's pretty cool too. I like this one, but that's for a different style. So I'm just going to use this one. You guys can make your own if you want. I just gave you the settings if you do want to use this color correction that I'm using now. But if you do not have Magic Photo Bullet Looks or whatever, Magic Bullet Looks, I recommend you guys get it. It's a very awesome tool. There's ways you can get it for free, but obviously I don't condone it. You know, I don't recommend it. Blah blah blah. But yeah, I'm just gonna erase some of this. Make it a little bit. Boom. All right. So now that I have that, I'm just gonna kind of lower it down a little bit, just so it kind of blends a little bit more to something like this. Once I've done this, I'm just gonna merge them together. Same thing. Go filter. Let's see here. I guess I want to use a displacement. Let's see here. Where they at? It's distort, displace, and then 1010. If you guys do have displacements, go ahead and use them if you guys want. Not everybody has them, so it's understandable. So this is kind of optional. It's not needed, but if you do have it, I recommend it. So I'm just gonna kind of erase some of this here. Let me erase the bottom because it's gonna be all choppy and weird if you apply the banner. So you want to make sure you erase the bottom parts of displacement, depending on the displacement tool you're using. So I'm gonna do something like this. Just gonna kind of erase the part. So something like that. Just gives a little bit more detail on the stocks and whatnot. So I'm gonna merge those together. And once I've done that, I'm going to add a RGB effect. So I'm going to go into blending options and make it blue. So once I've done that, I'm just gonna click this, you can move it with the arrows on your keyboard. So I'm gonna move it left once or twice, something like this, give it a little bit of detail. And then merge that, duplicate, and then let's start making the glitch effects. So hold shift while you're doing this, and you can make a bunch of live selection things. What are these called? Can't remember what it's called, but you know what this is. So you're just gonna kind of go over the whole render, and it's okay if it goes a little bit farther than the render itself, because that can look cool in most cases with particles like in different things. And we're just gonna move it to the left 3 times. It's a little bit strong. Let's move it 2 times. So we're just gonna keep doing this until we find a good balance that's not too strong or too distracting. So in this case, the number 2 is pretty good for this banner. So once we've done that, there's final touches you can do. So you can add blur if you guys want, add more lighting, which in this case I am gonna do. I'm gonna add some more lighting on everything. Just give it some more lighting. I mean, just make it look better. Boom. Here, let me erase this because this is gonna bug me having these here. So I'm just gonna erase some. Oops. Damn it. Y'all, dude. Alright, so, boom. Whatever. I don't care. So once we have that, we have some more lighting. I'm just going to look. Actually, I'm going to do one more here. So, yeah, basically, stuff like this is just kind of depending on your banner, if it needs it or if it doesn't need it, things like that. So something like this, you know? Doesn't look too bad. I like it. I'm going to do another high pass because I think it's too blurry. So other, high pass, other, whoops, set it to overlap. Boom. Alright, so thank you guys for watching this tutorial. Sorry, it was a little bit late. I went on vacation, so I couldn't post that Sunday. But here it is now, guys. Finished it off. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been your host today, Zebs, and I am out. Peace.